Alright, we're continuing with the Next.js authentication, just adding more features, debugging, and doing more things. If you've not watched the first one, alright, so here you have Brain Temple tutorial. So just go to YouTube, search for Brain Temple Tutorial TV, and click on videos. You're gonna see this Next.js in 1 hour. That's the first one, or you check it below in the description section below. Make sure you subscribe. This is my channel. Alright, make sure you click the subscribe button. So that's if you've not watched the first version of this tutorial where we built and set up this. So click the link below to watch that, and then you get back to this. So if you've watched that and you try to run it and saw a bug, let me show you. The first bug is here. Just make sure you're in component register. So we want to eliminate this. It's not destructuring well. So just eliminate this. There's a typo somewhere which is in placeholder here. So here is supposed to be placeholder, save. And we want to do the same thing in login. So on the login, okay, handle register, that was done well. We'll look for the placeholder and fix that. So now it is fixed. If we go back to our page, we can then see that it runs well now. So we're going to attempt to test it. Okay, so it's reloading. So let's save something in the DB. No, here's the thing, right? It's working well now, but this browser still remembers the old. There's something saved up in the cache. If you look here, you see that the server says it's running well, but this driver is stuck in cache memory. So normally you should be able to right click here and reload or hard reload. It's not here. So a good way to do that is Command Shift R. Let's see whether that works. Hard reload, and so that the browser will forget the old system. Let's see. Well, it's not letting go. Instead of wasting time, let's open another browser, Opera, same URL, localhost 3000 auth register. So it's well opened. So now we're going to put let's put a link, an email, and then a password. Let me type a password I know that I can remember. Let's put one here. Register. And user created successfully. So it's registered successfully. So if we go to our database now, let's see if we have any users registered. So in our DB next login, under user, we can browse. And now you see the one I just registered here, dave1@gmail. The password is correctly hashed and everything is fine. So now let's try and actually log in. First of all, let's look at our login algorithm and see what it wants to do. First of all, under components, the component will receive the login details from the form and send it to the login API, which is here. You see auth, API auth, send it to this as post request, and it's sending only the email and password. And then it waits for the response. So it's going to get the response here. So it's sent it, and then when the response comes here, we're going to save it in this thing we call data, and we're going to show it as a pop-up alert message. So this is our login algorithm. If we now go to the API auth.login, we come here, we'll see that this guy is waiting for a post request. All right, once it receives the post request, now it's going to have it as body, break it down into email, and then first of all, it will try. And what is it trying? It's trying to search for the user on the database, whether there's a user with this email, and then it will also verify that the user exists. So it's going to hash the password and compare it with the password in the DB. And if there is, it's going to respond with login successful with a message. All right. And then the email. If not, it's going to respond with 401 login failed. and that's it. Okay. If there's an error, that is the request is not post. It's going to respond with something went wrong, or maybe method not allowed here. Okay. So I think everything is fine now. But if we then go to the URL auth login, we see that there's an error, and that bug is because we're trying to use a variable we have not declared. So if we go to the auth login, we see that the components auth, we see that at the bottom here, we're trying to spit out a message, but we did not declare the message. So two solutions. We can just eliminate this line, Control X, save. And when we come here, in a few seconds, it should rebuild and reload, and the error should be gone. All right. Or we can actually set up the variable and use it. So to do that, I have to stop and start the server. To stop the server, you press Ctrl C on your keyboard, and then to start it, you run npm run dev, and the server starts again, and then we can refresh. The server is still starting though. All right. If you actually run npm run dev, all right, it will not rebuild the file, so it will still be seeing your code as it was before. All right. So sometimes you need to just rebuild the project. So you can run npm run build. So this is npm run dev now. If it doesn't see the bug, and then we can continue. So this is what I'm talking about. It's complaining of this, and you see register. So it's still seeing this file as it was before, and we're trying to work on login, and you see login here. So if we remove this login, save, it will rebuild, and everything should work fine. You see, everything works fine now. So let's try and log in the Dave at Dave1 at gmail.com, space, enter the password, hit enter. We should see a pop-up that says login successful. Yeah, why is the pop-up saying that? It's because the login was successful. We sent to this API endpoint, and the login was successful. But what I want to do is to just include this message. So I'm going to return this here, and in the login page, I will return it right here. We're going to remove it in future, but let it just be there. So we're going to just use the message. So here, use state, we'll copy this line, go to the login page and add it. Use state. And then under here, when we get the response, we need to decide what to do. When we get the response, here in the login page, paste. It says we set the message or the error. Okay, so here we can say login failed. So now the message can print when we log in. So there are a lot of things that are missing here. For instance, traditional session management, redirecting to dashboard after login. So that's what we're going to try and do in this video. Alright, so there's a minor bug to fix in register.js. This is supposed to be a function, just in case. So let's improve our register function. If you look at this register, you will see that it just accepts a post request, and then it just tries to create the account straight up on the database. But we need to make a check. We need to check if that email already exists. So this is important in DB registrations. If you look at our login code, you see that we check it. So if somebody wants to log in, first of all, here, we try to find the email. If we find it, and also the password matches, then we can say that the login is successful. You see? So in this case, we want to check before we attempt to register. We want to check if the user exists. Okay, so in this case, I'm just going to call it get user. Let's change DB. So now we can now say if gets user. That is, if the user exists, then we can throw an error. All right. Then else we can then try to create the user. So this else should end here. You see? Now it's beautifully done. So the user should only be created. Okay. So user exists, throw error. So which error do we throw? Something like this. If you're looking here, you'll see that we are trying to catch all possible errors, and we just assumed that the email exists. That's why the error. We can drill down and try to find out whether it's through any specific errors, such as whether it violated the unique identifier. We can narrow down to that point if you really want, but it's not necessary in this video. So we're just going to say response.json. We're going to say something like this. Something like this. Okay. Now, following our app, you will notice that even in the login, when users log in, we really don't do anything. We just respond with a message that says login successful. Nothing really. We don't do anything again. All right. So normally we're supposed to redirect to a dashboard page and persist the user login state. Okay. So that next time they come back to the platform, they are already logged in. So there are many ways to do that, but we can use JWT web token. So if I come to the terminal, we can just quickly set up JWT web token. So my server is on, so I don't want to close it. So I can create another terminal from here. And then here I can just run the command I want to run, which is to install JWT web token, npm install JSON web token. Okay, so once it's done, we will go and modify our login page. So while it's installing, we can then go to login.js under API auth. We import it from here. So we can do import JWT from JSON web token. Okay, now we've imported it. We can then set the secret key. So here we can say secret key for JWT. So make sure this is securely stored in .env file. So this file, this is where we're going to store it. We're going to fetch it from there. So let's go and write the code const JWT secret equals process.env.jwt secret. Okay, so we can tell it how long it should expire. In this case, I just want to play around with 1 month. So we can say JWT expires in 3 days or 30 days. That is 30 days. Okay. Token expires in 30 days or 1 month. Okay. So now we've declared this. We can then try to improve what this function does. So we're going to say authenticate user and return a JWT in an HTTP only cookie. So now we've had that, we can still go a bit further down inside our code and then start using the JWT token. So here, where we just authenticated the user, All right. We can say for now, let's just say, okay, if authentication is successful, let me break this down this way. Let me break it down this way. So if it's successful, generate JWT with user's email and ID as payload. So how do we do that? It's simple. Const token equal to JWT.sign, and inside it we're going to have ID user.id, email user.email, then JWT secret expires in JWT expires in. Okay, so this is how it is. Then of course we can now set JWT as an HTTP only cookie, and that just says set response dot set header set cookie. It's all case sensitive, and we're using the ticker sign here. This is not the same. These two are not the same. Let me raise this. These two are not the same. This key is above your left tab key. So press it once, type token equal to $, token, and then HTTP only colon path. Path equals semicolon max age. So this has to be max age equals $, and there we go. 30 times 24 times 60. 24 times 60 times 60. All right. So now for the last part, just make sure you put semicolon here, and then same site equal to strict, and finally semicolon. So this helps us set it, the JWT as HTTP only, and finally we are going to respond with this message: login successful. We no longer really need this. This is enough. Login successful. Okay, so now everything is clear. We'll move on to the next stage. So let's go ahead. We go to the env file where we will have to update it. So right here, we're going to say this is how you add comment: secret key for signing JWT. Okay, so use strong random string, so that when you pull this video, you're gonna this repository, you're gonna see it secret equals, so strong random string. So I'm just gonna say your secret key underscore da 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 da. Okay, normally this should be auto generated, but to save time, we're gonna do the expiration. JWT expires in equals double quote 30D. Okay, so that settles it, and expires in 30 days. So in this video, I want to push my code to GitHub so that you can be able to have access to it. And what we can do is simple. We just come to the command line and we just create. Oh, there's already a readme. Come on. And uh, we git in it and then git commit. So here, git in it, git commit first, and git add, then git commit, clear. And finally, we're going to git branch main, just to be sure we're on the main branch. And then finally, we're going to git remote add origin, confirm origin, and finally, git push. Now we are going to push. And that does it for us. Okay, so now we continue. So we have to create a middleware, and so that it will always protect the pages we don't want people to see unless they are logged in. So the middleware is going to be in a folder, and we can call the folder lib. And inside lib, we're going to create auth middleware.js. Okay, lib new file auth middleware.js. Now you need to know that you can create this folder anywhere, but just make sure it just makes sense to organize your folders the way you that makes sense. Okay. Import JWT. That's the first thing we do. Then let me close this. Import JWT from JSON web token. Okay, it's available for us now. And then we'll set the constant JWT secret process.env. So we're trying to fetch it from this env file. Process.env dot JWT secret. Okay, you know you got it right when it gives you this JWT secret. So now we have it. We can now create a function that does the following. First, middleware to check authentication status by verifying JWT. Secondly, if verified attaches user data to the request object. Okay. Now, finally, I want to remind you that you can reach out to me on this email if you have a good CEO or CTO position for me. Okay, and then I also want to let you know that you can pull this repo from github.com dev partner /NextJS authentication. That's where you're going to find this repo. Okay, in case you need the source code directly. All right, now here, also I'm on Udemy. I have more tutorials on Udemy and on YouTube as Brain Temple Tutorial TV. Okay, so now that's enough introduction. We get to writing the code for this file. So export const auth middleware, that's what we want to call this, and it's going to be equal to handler and async. Okay, so we pass the request and response parameter, and since it's synchronous, let's try to get and verify the token, and then we catch the error. So I like to put the catch immediately so that I don't get confused. So we're going to catch error in the end, and the error will be return rest.status. Okay, 401, which means that, of course, in JSON format, and the error is just going to say invalid token. Okay, so now let's try and authenticate the token. First of all, we'll try and get token from cookies, and it's going to be const token the request cookies dot token. Good. Then we verify the token, and to verify it, we're gonna say if the token exists. All right. Let's create a variable called decoded, and we assign it to JWT verify token JWT secret. All right. So now request.user equals decoded. Attach user data to the request. That's what we're doing here. Oops, request. Also, we return the handler request and response. So I'm going to call it proceed with handler if authenticated. So, but else return rest.status. Exactly what is here. I don't want to retype it. So we're just going to say rest.status not authenticated. Not authenticated. So this is how it is. Just to remove this error, I can do console.error error. So the error spits out in the console. Now the bug is gone. So at the end of here, I can put semicolon. Not super important, but just to keep my code clean. Now we need to create dashboard.js. Okay, now they are logging in. They need to land on a dashboard. So it's going to be easy. If we go to pages, inside API, new dashboard.js. So this dashboard.js is going to import auth middleware. This middleware we just created, we're importing it. Okay, where are we importing it from? Now watch what my editor will do. .com. All right, it says the moment I did it started listing all the things in the . So we're looking for lib. So it's not here. We'll do another again. So we'll move that of this folder, move that of this now. So now we can see lib / auth middleware. See, auth middleware. So that's good. And then now let's write a code, very short code, but let's first of all write what the code will do, which is a protected dashboard API. So this is how we're going to do all pages that will be protected. For now, we're just doing only dashboard. Okay, only accessible by authenticated users. Okay, so I think that's pretty much good. And now we're going to have const handler equal to async request and response. Okay, and we do the fat arrow and say res the status 200. That is successfully logged in. JSON message says welcome to your dashboard. This is the only thing for now we want to print on the dashboard, and then we can do user dot request user. So we can just pass the user data as a response to in case they need it. The requester needs it. And then we're going to export default auth middleware handler. Okay, handler. I hope I spelled everything correctly. Auth middleware handler. Good. All right, so now we can go and create the actual page. So inside pages, all right, we're just going to create dashboard.js. Inside pages, create dashboard.js. Now this dashboard.js is going to import two things. The first one is use effect and use state. Okay, from React. Now I want to duplicate this line so I can import use router. Where are we importing use router from? From next router, okay? Because now we need to redirect. So once you need to redirect, you will have to use a router to route yourself. So what is this function going to accomplish? First of all, is this dashboard page, and secondly, it's going to fetch user data from the dashboard API that we just created. Okay, and then secondly, it's going to redirect to login page if not authenticated. So these two things are the only things we wanted to accomplish. Now it's time to write some code. First off, as usual, we export default function, okay, function dashboard. Now I just want to remind you that in the process of writing this code, if I make any mistake, don't worry. When I want to test the code, I will find out that I made the mistake and I'll fix it. So if you can fix it on your own, good. If you don't want to fix it, like risk fixing it, it's fine. Just have patience. I will eventually say it. Okay, I'm typing really fast, and that's why I might miss some things. Okay, router. So now we declare these two things. It's time to actually use them. So use effect and like this. Let's start. So the first thing we want to do is call the dashboard API to fetch user data. Okay, so how do we do it? As usual, const res, or let's say const fetch user data. Okay, equal to async. It's gonna be an asynchronous function that does what? Const res equal to await what? Fetch. All right, so we're gonna fetch API fetch API dashboard. Okay, from the dashboard API we created, and now if the response is okay, we receive the response, right? So we set a variable data await rest.json. So that's then set user data dot user. Remember we declared this here, right? Okay, so let me just set user data if authenticated. Okay, authentication successful. I like to add so much comments to make it easy. This is what I wish every tutor on the internet does. Just give me enough comments so that when I'm going through the code, I can understand it. So now we're gonna redirect. Okay, so let's just watch how the redirect happens. So router.push, we're pushing auth login. That's the URL we are redirecting to. So this is how you redirect in Next.js. Very, very simple. First step, import the router. Second step, just do router.push. Once your code gets there, it's going to issue a redirect to auth login. This is where it's going to push to. Okay, so let me just put it here, redirect to login. Okay, if authenticated. Okay, let's see what else we have to do. This is 1, 2, and then here we can fetch user data. So we're calling the function we just created. Okay, this we're calling it just to make sure it runs, and then router. Let me put it here, router. So now let's create the contents of the dashboard, which is simply return. Now we write the div, the usual div. Okay, and here we're gonna have user. If the user exists, if we call the user variable, then we can say h1 welcome and user.email. Okay, so just like this, and then right here, user, just to be sure I'm in the right place. So here, we're just going to add p loading. Okay, so if the page is still loading. All right. I think everything here is good. And are we missing anything? Why is this troublesome? Okay, all is good. Just close this here. Okay, I got it. So I mistakenly put this instead of question mark this way. Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so I think everything here on this page is right. And we go to the next page, which is the logout. Okay, so we have to have a logout feature. Um, this is use effect, double F. Good. Logout feature. So we're going to create it in API auth logout. Okay, pages API, pages API. Okay, there's an auth inside API. So right click and click logout. So .js. That's the API, the logout code. And to do that, it's a very simple code. First of all, let's just determine what's going to happen in the function. So it's the logout API, and it does a very simple thing, which is clears the authentication cookie. Okay, so export default function handler res. Okay, and then clear the cookie by setting it to expire immediately. All right, and rest.set header. I know we've done this before, but let's just do it again instead of just copying. Set cookie, comma, token equals HTTP only, HTTP only, colon, path. Make sure you get everything correctly. Equals / colon, max minus h equals 0, colon, same site equals strict. Okay, so like this, then we set the status res.status 200, which means it worked well, JSON, and then the message of the JSON we do message logged out successfully. You see, like this. So that's how it's done. We have to add the logout button right back here in the dashboard.js. Why are we having this? Dashboard.js. Yeah, I found the bug. It is this. I put a period here instead of full stop. In life, never put a period where you're supposed to put a comma. That's a life lesson. A life lesson. And here I called it moduleware instead of middleware. And everything works out well and everything checks out. So pages dashboard.js, let's just be sure we're in the right file. Let's just be sure we're in the close the API pages dashboard.js. And now we are going to add a logout button here. So just somewhere in between, we will find a way to insert a logout button. And here, for instance, it's a good place. Since this project is demonstration only, we don't want to worry so much about the the nitty-gritty of design. So logout button, and to me, this okay. We need to add something here, which is this, and then right above here, this. Just leave it empty. And now you see that the errors are gone. So we're now left with having to create handle logout. So let's create handle logout function, and that will be fun to create. So this will be the best place to do that. So handle logout by calling the logout API and redirecting to the login page. Okay, so remember the router does push. We're going to use it here, okay, for routing. So which means we have to import it too. So handle logout, that's the function, what we call the function name. It's going to be asynchronous function. And this is how you declare asynchronous functions in Next.js. So await, fetch, okay, app, as usual, just /API /auth /logout. So the logout API we created, and then the comma. Now you can declare the method. In this case, the method is post, comma. That's basically all we want to do here. Next, we redirect. Okay, router dot push, and that says auth login. So this is how it goes. Redirects to login page. So I think like this, everything is good here. Okay. So this pretty much does the thing. Our next step is to actually test our app. So this is the application. All right. Now I'll have to push, right? Let's push and update our Git. So Git add, Git commit, added dashboard, Git push. Now it's pushed. We can then try to use it. So just make sure that clear. Let's just make sure that our server is running. Yeah, it's running. So we're gonna attempt to log in with a registered email login. I would actually prefer to use Opera because sometimes Google Chrome does not clear cache. Okay, so let me refresh first and see whether we still have that error on Google Chrome. Okay, no error. So sometimes Google Chrome doesn't clear cache. It just keeps remembering the old, the way it used to be, and then you're stuck. So that's why I like to use Opera because of its cache clearance. So I know a user we created at dave1@gmail.com, and then the password, hit enter. Now, if our code works, it should redirect. So it says login successful, but this is the old system. So now we need to actually we need to restart our server. See if we can even do some rebuilding. All right, just before we test, in login component, we're going to import router so that we can redirect after login from not React router now, but Next router. Okay, Next router is easier. And I just want to remind you that this dashboard.js here, it's okay to have put it somewhere here in the root folder of the components. It would have been okay too. So in case that's where you wanted to put yours. So now let's look at the login, and now we've imported router. We can see that here we are sending as a post request to the login endpoint, and we are collecting the response here, and we are checking whether the response is okay. If it is 200 okay, then login was successful. So here I'm gonna say login successful. So we just want to store a message. Initially, we were just displaying the message here in the same page, but now that wouldn't be important again or necessary. We'll just redirect. So we are redirecting to dashboard. Dashboard is in the root folder of pages. That's why we just need a / dashboard. So if we now go here, we can type our password in the login page. Look at the route here. Login, hit enter, and brrr, boom. Now we're in the dashboard. You see / dashboard with a logout button. So if we click this logout button, what do you think is going to happen? Let's go to the logout dashboard and look at the logout button here. So it says welcome the user email, right? And then the handle logout says logout. If we click on it, it runs this function. And if we look at this function, the function simply goes to the logout endpoint via a post request, okay? And once the response comes back, it redirects. So now if we go to the logout endpoint in the API, so API auth logout, so API auth logout, not login now, but logout. We're gonna see that all it does is that it cancels the cookie, okay? Sets it to 0. We're using cookie to track whether when somebody is logged in or not. Sets it to 0 and then logs out the user. Now we also want to remember that we had a middleware. The middleware protects the dashboard page, any page that we attached the auth middleware. Like here in the dashboard.js, we attached this middleware so that it's protected. But also we don't want, as an assignment to you though, if somebody is logged in, we don't want them to see the login page. So if they visit the login page, it should redirect them to the dashboard. Okay. So I want you to implement that as an assignment. But for now, let's just test the logout button on here. If I click logout, it takes me right back to login.